It's Wine and Wisdom, segment 5. We're so excited that you guys joined us. And I have Holly Esquivel and Ashley Morrow with me. I'm Ann Deacon, of course. And we're going to be talking today about the pre-interview and then during the interview. But most importantly, we're going to talk about the things that nobody else will tell you. So we do have 25 years of experience. It's Wine and Wisdom. Today it's mimosas and orange juice because we are expecting, Holly is expecting her third child, and Ashley is expecting her second bambino, and we're so excited. So I've got the mimosa, they've got orange juice, and we're going to toast to you guys. So salute, ladies, and cheers to me. And Holly, we got to drink, because if you cheers and you don't drink, it brings you bad luck. So Deaconites, salute to y'all into the new generation. So Holly, talk to us a little bit about what happens like pre-interview. What should we be doing?
So it's all about preparation. So we know in general being on time is important, right? Sometimes there's this perception of being early is what's expected, which is a great thing to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
But sometimes being too early can actually be an inconvenience. So yes, it's super important. Give yourself enough time to park, to get through security. You want to make sure you bring your photo ID with you. But when you actually go into the building or check in at the desk, 10 minutes is really what's appropriate, because remember, that person at the front desk, they have responsibilities, they have a job to do as well. So that's the number one thing when you think about preparation and arriving at the interview.
Yeah, so you arrive in the reception area. Everybody wants to chat it up with the receptionist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we want to be perceived as super friendly, but that too can be super annoying, right? To the person behind the desk, if you will. So what would be the best, most appropriate thing, how to maybe handle that?
Yeah, so I would say, obviously backing up what Holly said, when you arrive to the front desk, first off, you want to be friendly to everyone. When you walk into that building till the end, you want to make sure that you're friendly to every single person, because many of the times, the person that you interviewed with, they're going to be going and asking how you reacted, how you came in, and acknowledged everybody. So as soon as you come in and check in, that receptionist has work to do. So step away, don't be a chatterbox, don't continue to chat all day until the person comes out to greet you. Sit down if you'd like to sit down, or just step aside. That's going to be the best thing when you arrive, waiting for your interview.
That is such a great point, Ashley, in that a number of years ago, we had a candidate that totally nailed the interview. But unfortunately, when the person arrived, they were so rude to the receptionist. And in our office, we know that Abby is like she makes the whole office work, right? And so many times when we're handling internal interviews at Deacon, my first question is, I'm talking to Abby about how did they treat her when they came in? Were they friendly? Did they ask appropriate questions? Et cetera, et cetera. So we know in our office at Deacon and so many of our clients that probably the most important person is the front office coordinator. And really it is a kind of a powerful position, but certainly an influencer, no doubt. So talk to us a little bit about maybe the prep on that, Holly. What should we be looking at before we go in? I was raised in a family that 99% of life is preparation and 1% is execution.
Yeah, so what do you bring with you? We get that question a lot. So it's definitely appropriate to bring a professional portfolio, portfolio with your notes. You want to be prepared to tell stories that speak to your success. What's not appropriate, okay, this isn't the time to bring your trapper keeper or your son or daughter's, bring notebook, bring something that's professional and presentable. So that, of course.
So y'all have some big cheap tablets in your homes, is what I feel like, right? Yeah. So you're used to that, right? With all the kids. Holly has 4 children, 4th on the way. So yeah, you probably see some big chiefs. Not the appropriate time to bring that big cheap tablet, right?
Yes, definitely not.
No. So in preparation, I think one of the things that is maybe confusing and is like you could be over prepared. Some people think don't stress yourself out. So be genuine, be knowledgeable. certainly in today's market, although we work in San Antonio, we really are affected by the global market. So there's really, with the internet, there's no excuse not to be prepared and know the bios of the people that you might be meeting with. And then I always recommend as well is reading the bios of the people. If I'm meeting with a VP, then I'm going to know the C-level execs as well. So making sure that you're knowledgeable, because you just never know who you might meet in the reception. And it's great to have maybe looked at their bios, LinkedIn, know what they look like, this kind of thing.
Yeah, everybody today is on LinkedIn. You can find your information out there, so take advantage of that.
So, it's really interesting. We had a story not too long ago where it actually happened here at Deacon, in that we were interviewing for an internal position, and the person brought me a gift. So, before the interview. So, talk to me about that, because I found it to be super awkward. I'm like, what do I do? I felt obligated.
Yeah. Well, exactly. They felt a little awkward in that situation. So it's best, don't bring a gift. We understand that maybe you're going for a marketing position, you want to bring examples of your work, that might seem appropriate, but bringing a gift to the first interview or even to the second interview, that's just not something appropriate. They're not expecting that, and it really kind of puts them in an awkward situation. So it's best just kind of bring you in your resume.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Always bring multiple copies of the resume, because you can't assume that the person in front of you's gotten it from whomever set up that interview, right, and whoever coordinated it. I love Ashley's point in that if you're interviewing for a marketing position where you need to have a portfolio, please bring it. And then you would take those items out when asked, right? So if the interview's going well and you're meeting with the appropriate person to demonstrate the quality of your work, then you certainly want to bring those items with you. So, as we kind of go through this, should we do another cheers? Because I'm having champagne. And the people that know me really well in this market, they know that I love great champagne. But because we're a team here, I'm going to put some orange juice in my champagne. And so here's to having more babies.
Yeah, 2 more babies.
Thank y'all. So talk to me a little bit about, and you alluded to this earlier, depending on the level of, if you're meeting with a C or a V, or what the HR professional, what are the appropriate questions, Holly? Because I know that it's awkward, or can be, when you're asked if you have any questions, and then I always find it to be, my perception is if somebody doesn't have good questions, I'm thinking they're unprepared. Right? So talk to me a little bit about, and you guys, a little bit about what's appropriate, and ask what questions should I ask? Should I ask some questions? And when it's inappropriate, yes, or questions, right?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about when you're prepping for an interview, because it can really make or break the interview for you. So you have to first know your audience. So you are very, very likely today to go through multiple rounds of interviews when you're being considered for a position. And so you are likely to meet peers, people who would be on your team, your direct supervisor, as well as maybe even the CEO or other executives. So you have to know your audience. So when you think about meeting with the CEO or a VP or a director, and you are 2 or 3 levels down from that person, you have to think of what are the appropriate questions to ask them. This is probably the first time you've had any interaction with them or met them. So it's really not appropriate to ask, well, as a CEO, what are your plans for the company in the next 6 to 12 months? I think sometimes we think, okay, that kind of question is going to show that we care about the business, we want to know about the business, where it's going. But being so far down from that CEO, it's just not appropriate. So an alternative question might be, and if I were in this role, what would make me a great success, or what would you want me to have achieved in my first 6 to 12 months?
I love that question.
Yeah.
Love that question. And I think that's an appropriate question, really for any level of professional. Whether you're kind of entry level, or if you have, or you're a senior, or if you're a V level. I think that's very, very valid. But I get the point in that if you're a a VP and you're interviewing with another VP, the higher level, more strategic questions are very, very appropriate. But if you're maybe an entry level and you have the opportunity to meet with a C level, some of the strategic questions are just really not appropriate questions if it's your first meeting, right? Now, if you're asked to do a presentation and you're trying to gather data, that's very, very different. But we're talking about that first meeting, aren't we?
Yes.
So as follow-up to that, any other things, Ashley, that you think are appropriate that, I mean, we have so many years of experience and we've heard some crazy stories where it really knocks out the great qualified candidate. Is there any other tips that you guys can think of that you're like, okay, we're here to share 25 years of information and have a little mimosa as well, but share with us some of the things that are just one more tip that you think could really help our audience today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Holly said, it can make or break an interview. So you want to come in with questions. And there's going to be questions that are going to come that maybe you didn't even think of in an interview. But again, it's dependent on who you're interviewing with. So if you're interviewing with a direct supervisor, ask those strategic questions. Get a more vision of the company so you know when you go into that leadership position what's kind of expected of you to kind of meet those goals. But I think really understanding more about the position, obviously, what they're looking for, so you can truly kind of match your questions to hopefully answer those appropriately, but just truly understanding more intel, just why is the position open, what is it really that they're looking for, what's really the vision.
You know, another question I think is always appropriate, really at any level, is can you help me understand, maybe as Ashley alluded to, why is the position open? And then perhaps even the next is, why did the last person, why were they not successful in the position? That really gives you a tremendous amount of insight of what's going on. And then you're going to be able to qualify that if it's a good fit for you or not. So one question we always hear is, when is the appropriate time to talk compensation, right? So if you're not using a third party like Deacon, you know, where you really have all this information in advance, when is the appropriate time? Because again, you know, being on the other side of it, actually both sides of it, it can be a total turnoff when it's asked at the inappropriate time during the interview process. And our assumption here in today's market, at least with a lot of our clients, whether they're privately held or publicly traded, there's going to be multiple interview process, right? So I think a lot of candidates say that they just don't know when is that time, when's the appropriate time to ask the comp question. What we don't want to have happen is for you to go through multiple steps and you're at the final interview, and that comp question has never been addressed, because that's just wasting everybody's time, right? So Holly, talk to us a little bit about when is that appropriate time.
So when it definitely is not the appropriate time is in the first conversation or first meeting. You want to use that time to highlight why you're a great potential fit for this company, this role. You can get to that other stuff later, because here's the reality. You're interviewing the company as well, and you might go through that step, right?
Yeah.
And say, you know what, this is not for me. So you want to use that time to get as much information about the company and give as much information about yourself.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting in that first interview, what we always say is your role is to really create as many opportunities for you as possible. So you're not in that meeting to weed out, right? So our position is we're always trying to find the best in everybody and trying to weed, if you will, weed in. But your role is to sell yourself and really gather intel in that first meeting. So if you don't ask that comp question in the first meeting, when is it appropriate?
I think what you should try to do is get a good understanding of what is the interview process. That would be a question I would ask, because that's going to tell you, okay, there's going to be 2 steps for this round of interviewing. So I know I want to have that conversation, not in the first, but somewhere in the second. I also want to know who else is going to be a part of the interview process.
Awesome.
Because that's going to tell me who is the appropriate person to have that conversation with.
That is such great information, Holly. Oh my gosh, I love it. So I've gotten some takeaways, and I hope you guys have as well. And we're so delighted that you joined us today. And again, we're really kind of an open book. We're always here to help, whether you're working through Deacon or not. We're here for you. You can call Holly or Ashley or myself, of course, and we're super responsive, or email us at first initial last name at deaconrecruiting.com, or call us at 210-494-1000.